What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. This is going to be your review of Queen Sugar Season 5, Episode 9. I'm only upset because we only have, what, one more episode, two more episodes left? I'm upset by that, but it is what it is. We here. Let's do it. Let's make this happen. Blue done found his acceptance letter to the Sitwell friends, and he is excited. Now, they sit down and they talk to him. This is what I can appreciate. I like the way they handled this, okay? Um, Ralph Angel didn't get mad at him. Ralph Angel ain't start fussing with him. He called Darla. They sit down and they talk to him. They heard what he had to say. They explained it to him. And they told him, they said, well, listen, it is a great school. It's a great opportunity. But if you went to this school, you would have to leave. This is in D.C., and you would have to live with your grandmother. But they even said, listen, you can come home on the week. Well, no, that was later on in the episode, child. Anyway. And Blue, the minute Blue heard that, he was like, yeah, no, I'm not interested in that. Nah, if I gotta leave y'all, nope, I don't want to do it. Now, over to Charlie's house, Davis is still there. He done boarded up the window that he broke, and Charlie don't remember none of it, child. Charlie don't remember him breaking in her house. She don't remember any of it. And he's like, listen, I'm gonna cook you some food. You know, you going back upstairs. He said, you've always, taken care of me, but you going back upstairs. I'm gonna make you some broth, and I'll bring you some food. And you can see she is just confused. I mean, she is just sitting there like, you still here? Why are you still here? And okay, I appreciate what you did for me, but why are you still here? Like, you can see the confusion all in her face, right? You can see the confusion all in her face. And Davis is telling her he went to the grocery store. He done bought her some fruits and some water and protein and all kinds of stuff. And I mean, she's appreciative, but she is confused as hell, Later on in the episode, she's upstairs and watching game shows, and he comes upstairs and brings her some broth, and we find out that Davis is a history buff, and he said, yeah, that's something you wanted to downplay. And she said, well, I only wanted to downplay it because, I needed you to be accessible, you being a debonair, intelligent, attractive guy is one thing. You being a Phi Beta Kappa and a history scholar is something totally different. And he was like, that's true. That's true. And she said, you got something else other than that broth? And he was like, oh, wait a minute. Your appetite is coming back. That's good. He said, I could cook something for you. She was like, you gonna cook for me? He said, yeah. He said, I'll cook you something. He said, what you want? And she said a sandwich, and he said, I can make something for you. And so she said, well, I can come and help. But it's funny because all of these interactions between her and Davis are just, the confusion is just written all over her face. Like, it is just all confusion. Now, over to Vi's house, her and Hollywood seems to be doing better. He's getting his thing off the ground with the spot, the what is it just called, the spot? But the men's spot, he's sending out the invitations for the virtual, opening and everything, and Vi's helping him with that. And she's looking for her phone so she can call Nova, because she wants Nova to call Ralph Angel about Blue going to Sitwell friends. And Hollywood was like, I thought we had a conversation about this. And she said, well, I'm not getting in it. He said, yes, you are. You just using Nova to do it. But you still butting in to a situation that ain't your business. But, that ain't stop her. So then we see Nova talking to Ralph Angel. And Nova's giving him the whole spiel on, we don't need to send our kids to these elite prep white schools that give them a false sense of, reality, and they just want to meet their quota that they have to meet for minorities. And so Ralph Angel was like, so what you trying to say? You trying to say that my son only got in because he was black? She was like, no. Blue is brilliant. He probably got in because he's brilliant, but let's not negate the fact that his white counterparts don't have to be brilliant. They just they just get in because they're, they have the right connections or whatever. And he said, okay, well, you ran your butt on up there to Tulane. Like, you ain't go to no HBCU. And she said, that's because I didn't know any better. But I know now that just because it's a white school doesn't make it better. She said, yeah, St. Joe's may not, give him all of the same opportunities as far as access to, certain opportunities, but he'll get a great education and he will walk away with a sense of self and a sense of pride. Like, he'll get something that he won't get at those other schools. And Ralph Angel was like, well, yeah, um, we decided that we're gonna keep him here. But then you see but this is the conversation he has with Nova, where you see the first crack. You see the first crack of him realizing, well, wait a minute, maybe sending Blue to the school might not necessarily be a bad thing, Then he has a conversation with Micah. And Micah went to prep schools and he had all of those opportunities, and he tells Micah about it, and Micah says, listen, that is great. He said, Sidwell Friends, he said, that's one of the best schools in the country. He said, I hear they don't even take applications. He said, that is great. He said, Blue is going to get so much out of it, and he immediately starts talking about all of the advantages. And so, Ralph Angel's listening, and Ralph Angel's like, okay. He said, really? He said, yeah. He said, now listen, it ain't perfect. There are some downsides to it. He said, but I mean, you can't deny the opportunities. You can't deny all that you would get from that school. He was like, yeah. He said, well, you didn't, he said, well, you turned out pretty good. He said, you decided to go to a HBCU. He said, yeah, but I had choices. He said, and I'm going to be honest with you, those choices didn't come because I graduated from St. Joe's High School. Those choices came because I did go to all of those preppy, those prep schools from Los Angeles. He said, I'm going to be honest. He said, and the reality is, yes, I chose a HBCU, but I had the choice because of the opportunities. The choices were there because of where I went to high school and elementary school and middle school. And he said, well, we decided that, Blue gonna stay here. And Michael was like, well, that's cool. I mean, he was like, listen, whatever y'all decide to do, it's cool, But again, you see the wheels turning. So then we see Ralph Angel having a conversation with Aunt Vi. And of course, Aunt Vi's like, well, I heard you came to your senses about not sending Blue to that school up north. And, Ralph Angel was like, well, we were just weighing all of our options, but no, he's going to stay here with us. She was like, well, good. And, Hollywood was like, good. You should weigh all of your options. You should look at this from all angles. And then Aunt Vi started talking about the girl down to the grocery store who didn't get into the college she wanted, but now she's in a management training program, and everybody don't need to be a CEO. And again, you see Ralph Angel's wheels turning. He's like, okay. Like, and again, there's no disrespect to anybody in the management training program down to the grocery store, but I don't think that was convincing Ralph Angel that it was a good idea to keep Blue, like, in St. Joe's. Like, I don't think that was convincing him or nothing. You know what I'm saying? I was like, Vi, sometimes people arguments, you be like, that's not the one. That ain't gonna do it. That's not gonna do it. Now, Nova is working on this case about the football star who was paralyzed under mysterious circumstances, and we see what's the boyfriend's name? Cop. I mean, I just call him the cop, but I wanted to remember his name for purposes. But he's off on assignment, and he's, so he's gonna be gone for a couple of days, and she lets him know she's working on this new story, and of course they had that little lovey-dovey moment and all that good stuff. We see her reach out to and the police are accused of doing this, right? So we see her reach out to the woman who originally wrote the article, and she gets her notes, and they share a moment, and she gets her notes or whatever, and find out that it seemed like it happened down in, I think she said, Ninth Ward, and um, the police were suspected because during that time period, his bruises were consistent with how the police would beat up kids so that the bruises wouldn't show, and and it was just a lot of mystery there. The family wouldn't talk because they were afraid to talk, and nobody ever really told her. Nobody ever really broke, so the story just sort of kind of hung there. Um, and so we see where Nova, is getting the notes, and she's making these phone calls, and she's reaching out. Um, and the boy calls her back. He calls her back, and they end up meeting. I'm gonna just go on and knock this on out the park, child. They end up meeting because I think we all know where this is going, so they don't need keeping this in suspense. She meets up with him, and he tells her, he said, "Listen, I'm a big fan. He said, I read your book. I'm subscribed to your website, and I'm a big fan. So yeah, I was definitely excited that you were interested in my story." And she says, "Well, can you tell me what happened?" And he said, "Listen, here's what it was. I was, straddling the fence. I had my scholarship. I was in college, but I was still hanging out with my boys from the hood. One night we did something stupid. We stole some hubcaps, and we tried to sell them. We couldn't sell them. We ran into the police. I told the police officers, listen, I got a scholarship to college. Please don't run me in. I promise I'll never do it again." Being young and dumb, thinking you could talk the police out of something. The police told him, "Oh yeah, you won't do it again." Said they took them to a back alley, beat their ass, one at a time. He said, and the last cop kind of was giving it to him a little extra. And he said, literally, the last blow that he gave me was literally the blow that broke my back. Nova said, "Well, do you know who did it?" He said, "Yeah. Yeah, I know who did it." He said, "I thought that's why you were here." She said, "Well, I mean, yeah, I want to tell your story." He said, "No. The cop that did it is the cop that you thanked in your book." Nova said, "Say what? The cop I did what?" And he called Calvin. That's it. And he called him by name. He said, "Officer Calvin, whatever, whatever." And you literally saw Nova's heart break. You literally saw her heart break in that moment. So, baby, we see where that's going. We'll get there. But listen, didn't we call it? Didn't we all call it? We all called it. All right. Then we had a great moment. Whoever directed this episode, whoever wrote this episode, we had a great moment where Ralph Angel comes home with Black Panther, with a Black Panther, the action figure for Blue, and they have a whole Chadwick moment. And he was like, "Oh man, thank you, Pops." He said, "Yeah, I couldn't afford it when it first came out." He said, "But now, I just think it's more important than ever that you have that." And he was like, "Yeah, I still can't believe he's gone." And he tells him, he said, "Listen, he ain't gone." He said, it's when you impacted people's lives like that, like you live, your spirit stays here. And they had a whole moment for Black Panther and for Chadwick Boseman. And for that, respect. Like, I feel like that's the only show I've seen do that. So definitely, once again, Queen Sugar gets it right in the small things, right? Once again. So thank you for giving Chadwick a moment in this episode. And again, it just shows that connection there where Ralph Angel is having a conversation with Blue about him playing with dolls. He said, well, because Blue was like, "Well, I don't really play with dolls anymore, but I'll just keep this here as like a collector's item." And he was like, "That's true. Like that's a good idea." He said, "But when did you stop playing with dolls?" He said, "Pops, dolls are for kids. I'm not a kid anymore." And they bring up Kenya. And I like the fact that they don't bring up a big deal about a Kenya being a girl or boy. Just, he said, "Listen, I'm too old to be playing with dolls, Dad. Like, that's not what I do." Well, Pops. Then we see Ralph Angel overhears him talking to his friend saying he wants to be a farmer. He wants to be a farmer like his dad. That's what he wants to be when he grows up. Um, so later on, Ralph Angel is talking to Blue. And he said, Blue, did you mean that earlier when you said that you wanted to be a farmer when you grew up? And he was like, yeah. He said, you're a farmer. He said, farmers help people. He said, I want to help people. You know, granddad was a farmer. You're a farmer. I want to be a farmer. And he said, you know, it's okay if you don't want to be a farmer. Like, it's great. Like, we need more black farmers in the world. But it's so, because he said, I had a dream about being an explorer, being an astronaut, being president. He said, it's okay if you want to be one of those things you dream about. It's okay if you want to be an explorer or president. You don't have to be a farmer just because I'm a farmer. And Blue was like, well, I think about it sometimes. He said, you do? He said, I think about it too. He said, you know what else I think about sometimes? And Blue was like, what? He said, sometimes I think about Sidwell friends. And Blue said, I do too. He said, really? He said, I mean, DC's not that far. I mean, you could come home on the weekends. You ain't flying home every weekend, Blue. I'm gonna just go ahead and put that out there. Don't sell that boy no false dreams. But I understood the point he was making, and Blue was kind of like, yeah, I've been kind of thinking about it. And they had the moment, and you see where they made the decision. I mean, Darla is not happy about it, but Darla, you know, was respectful about it. You know, she suffered in silence a little bit. And then we see where they're calling a family meeting. Ralph Angel's calling a family meeting, and we see where um, um, Charley, Lord, I couldn't get it out. We see where Charley is, her and Davis are sharing, you know, they're having dinner, you know, they didn't cook dinner together and they're eating dinner. And again, they reminiscing, talking about, you know, when he was sick and his threshold, his pain threshold, and how she's always been better at, you know, pain management than him. And, you know, and about how much she's been, you know, how she always has to be strong for everybody else, and what she's been hiding, and how she's been hiding her sickness, and she ain't even told the council she was sick, and how, it's just not acceptable to be sick, especially as a woman. They always want to, blame you or find excuses about what happened and how you got sick, and how she always has to sort of feel like she has to carry the torch for everybody else. And Davis tells her, he said, listen, this is your time. You need to take some time for yourself. And maybe this was, he didn't say God's way, but, maybe this was your way of being able to just rest, and it's okay if you want to climb back up on the couch and just be by yourself, like, and just sleep and watch TV shows and do nothing. It's okay. And she, gets the text from Ralph Angel about the family meeting and everything. And she said, well, I got to go to the family meeting, or, they definitely are going to think something's up. They're going to feel like something's wrong if I don't go to the family meeting. And so, the next day, Davis is packing up to leave, and last week he told her, I don't think I said this in my review, but last week he told her, listen, when people you love need you, you show up. And this week he told her, he said, listen, anytime, because she said, I feel bad that I disrupted your life. He said, anytime, any place, anywhere you need me, I'm going to be there. Like, you could never disrupt my life. Like, that's not, no. And again, Charley is giving him that, that, who are you look, But he's letting her know, listen, I got you. He said, and if you need me again, please promise me you will call. If you have a relapse, if you don't feel good, if you need me, promise me that you will call me. I said, okay, Davis, I see you sliding in there, sliding back in. Anyway, so they had the family meeting onto the Zoom, and Blue makes his announcement. Blue says, listen, I've decided that I'm going to go to the Sidwell Friends School. And of course, Micah is happy. Charley is happy. Hollywood is happy. Nova, not so much, but she masked it pretty well. Ain't Vi, not at all. She masked it semi, but she literally texted Ralph Angel while they still on the damn call talking about something, we need to talk. And she ends up calling Ralph Angel, and the first thing I heard about, she says, is your father will be ashamed of you. I said, see, that's unfair. You starting off wrong. And they end up getting to an argument, and Ralph Angel said, hey, Vi, I'm trying my best to be respectful, but you're not going to keep calling me and telling me what I can and can't do with my child. I appreciate everything you've done, but that does not give you the right to tell me what I can and can't do with my child. Your opinion matters, but it ain't the final decision. And of course, Vi's giving it back, and he said, listen, I'm trying not to hang up on you because I really don't want to disrespect you like that, but you really are doing too much right now. And she tells him, well, go ahead and hang up on me. I don't care, because you are ruining your child's life, and you're going to do this and you're going to do that, and I can't believe you, and you are not the person I thought you were, and your father will be absolutely, he would be ashamed of you right now. And that's how the conversation ended. Listen, I mean, we know that they're going to make up, but baby, that's a tough one. That's a tough pill to swallow. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in them comments. Peace.